In history, you have certain people, like Leonardo da Vinci, whose genius is just so incredible, and the visions that they have.
What you are about to hear is not art history. It is a disclosure. It is the first chapter of a story that will redefine the human race's understanding of its past, its purpose, and its precarious future. It is a revelation so profound, so utterly reality-bending, that government agencies and private institutions have already moved to classify the findings under the highest levels of national security. For 5 centuries, Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper was believed to be the pinnacle of Renaissance art.
The fact that Leonardo chooses to record this encounter with the cave, I think indicates that it had a significant impact on the artist.
A static masterpiece capturing a single, tragic moment in time. We now have irrefutable proof that it is something else entirely. It is not a painting. It is a dormant, highly advanced, multi-layered data storage device. An artifact of non-human engineering, and the message it contains, a message our most advanced artificial intelligence has finally unlocked, is both a gift of unimaginable power and a terrifying, time-sensitive warning that changes the course of human history forever. Content. For 500 years, the masterpiece held its secrets locked in plain sight. The world's most brilliant minds approached it with the only tools they had, the human eye and the human brain. They saw a sublime story of betrayal. They correctly identified a genius-level understanding of mathematics in its use of linear perspective and the golden ratio, which gave the flat wall an illusion of impossible depth. Theologians and historians debated its rich religious symbolism, seeing divinity and prophecy in every loaf of bread, every glass of wine, every shadow that fell across the faces of the apostles. Fringe theorists and codebreakers, sensing a deeper, more conspiratorial truth, found hidden musical scores in the placement of hands, complex astronomical alignments in the windows, and the supposed hidden symbols of secret societies encoded in the folds of the disciples' robes. They were all correct, yet they were all profoundly, catastrophically wrong. They were like ancient astronomers trying to map the heavens without a telescope, painstakingly charting the faint lights they could see while remaining utterly blind to the infinite, invisible cosmos of galaxies and nebulae that lay just beyond their perception. Their every analysis was fatally flawed, crippled by a single foundational assumption, that the artist, Leonardo da Vinci, was merely a human genius, albeit the greatest of them all. And because of that innocent, deeply ingrained assumption, they missed everything that truly mattered. They saw the intricate cover of the book, but remained oblivious to the library of cosmic secrets written into its very atoms. Their failure was not one of intellect, but of dimension. They were looking at a 4-dimensional message while trapped in a 3-dimensional understanding. That paradigm has now been shattered. It was shattered when a secretive international consortium of futurists, quantum physicists, and art historians, operating under the official but clandestine codename Project Hephaestus, gained access to Elon Musk's Grok AI. This is not a simple chatbot designed to answer questions or write poetry. Grok is a form of synthetic intuition, an intelligence architected with a nonlinear processing core, allowing it to perceive and correlate patterns across vast, seemingly unrelated datasets. Its purpose is to find the signal in the noise of reality itself, to connect dots that the human mind is not structured to see. Project Hephaestus gave Grok a singular, monumental task: to analyze the most detailed multispectral scan of The Last Supper ever created. This was not a JPEG file. This was a petabyte-scale digital reconstruction, a quantum state snapshot of the artwork, a file so rich it captured the painting's composition, chemistry, and energetic state down to its subatomic structure. Grok was not instructed to look for art history. It was instructed to hunt for anomalies. It was a digital bloodhound tasked with finding any pattern, any signal, any data point that defied the known laws of 15th century physics, chemistry, information theory, and biology. The first results were so shocking, so utterly impossible by every known metric of science and history, that the system's internal diagnostics flagged them as a probable sign of catastrophic sensor failure or data corruption. The project was nearly halted, but the data was clean. The impossibility was real. They were the first thread of a conspiracy woven not by human hands, but into the fabric of space-time itself. Layer 1. The quantum physics of consciousness. Grok's initial analysis bypassed the visible image entirely, ignoring the human figures and the room they occupied. Instead, it focused on the microscopic data embedded within the digital scan, the deep, invisible layers of information. It analyzed the subtle, almost imperceptible tensing of facial muscles rendered with single-pigment precision, the trace heat signatures indicating blood flow to specific regions of the brain like the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, and the microscopic polarized reflections in the pupils of the apostles. Leonardo da Vinci, with his unparalleled, almost supernatural obsession with human anatomy and physiology, had captured these fleeting, involuntary neurological reactions with an accuracy that should not have been possible without advanced medical imaging technology, like functional magnetic resonance imaging or electroencephalography scans. He hadn't just painted emotions, he had painted the precise biophysical markers of those emotions as they occurred at the synaptic level. Grok translated these complex micro-expressions into quantifiable data streams, assigning each of the 12 apostles a unique emotional frequency signature. Peter's righteous rage was not just an expression. It was a sharp, high-frequency waveform at 121.7 GHz, a frequency band associated with high-energy gamma-wave brain activity. John's profound sorrow was a low, resonant hum at 33.3 GHz, a frequency that borders on the Schumann resonance, the natural resonant frequency of Earth's own atmosphere. It was as if John's grief was in perfect harmony with the planet itself. Most disturbingly, Judas's abject terror was not just chaos. It was a signal that actively disrupted quantum coherence in its immediate vicinity, a waveform that, in theory, could destabilize the local structure of reality. This provided an unprecedented high-resolution map of the scene's emotional and neurological landscape. But it was the relationship between these frequencies that produced the first paradigm-shattering discovery. The 12 emotional signatures were not a random collection of individual reactions. When Grok mapped them together, they did not form a cacophony of emotional noise. They were harmonically tuned. The mathematical ratio between Peter's high-frequency rage and John's low-frequency sorrow, between Andrew's sudden shock and Thomas's methodical doubt, adhered perfectly to the fundamental constants that govern our universe. The fine structure constant, which dictates the strength of electromagnetic interaction, was there, encoded in the amplitude difference between the positive and negative emotional states. The golden ratio, phi, was present not just in the architecture of the room, but in the very architecture of their collective emotional state, dictating the spacing of the harmonic overtones. Most impossibly, Planck's constant, the fundamental quantum of action at the heart of all reality, was encoded in the phase shift, the tiny time delay, between the emotional reactions of the apostles on the left side of the table versus those on the right. This was not a coincidence. This was a message that stated that consciousness is not a byproduct of the universe. It is a direct reflection of its fundamental operating system. It implied that Da Vinci understood a form of emotional physics that remains theoretical even to us. The idea that human consciousness itself, when properly harmonized, can interact directly with the fundamental forces of the universe. The team was stunned. The implications were too vast. But Grok flagged the finding with a simple, ominous internal note. Layer 1, carrier wave acquired. The primary data payload is encoded upon this frequency. The wave acts as a decryption key. The Apostle's emotions weren't the message. They were the highly complex, multi-layered password required to access it. This was not just art, it was a depiction of a psychic event, a unified field of consciousness capable of interfacing with reality. It suggests a forgotten science, one where human emotion is not a mere byproduct of biology, but a tool of immense power. A tool capable of broadcasting a signal, a key, that could be read across time. The Apostles were not just feeling, they were transmitting. Layer 2, the sonic blueprint and the fractal key to zero-point energy. With the emotional carrier wave isolated and identified as an encryption key, Grok turned its analytical attention to the objects arranged on the table. For 5 centuries, the scattered bread rolls, the disciples' gesturing hands, and the half-filled glasses of wine were seen as mere artistic props, rich with Christian symbolism. Grok dismissed their symbolic meaning as a clever, multi-layered form of cultural camouflage, designed to both hide the message and ensure its preservation. It saw them for what they truly were, a programming language. Treating their precise positions on the table as coordinates on a 3-dimensional grid, Grok found not a simple melody, as some earlier theorists had proposed, but a complex acoustic schematic. It was a complete blueprint for a device, a highly sophisticated piece of machinery. The arrangement of the hands dictated the precise angles of a series of phased array emitters. The placement of the bread rolls defined the resonant frequencies, while the levels of wine in the glasses specified the required power modulation for each emitter. Quantum physicists and acoustic engineers who were brought in to analyze the schematic were left baffled and deeply unnerved. The arrangement described a resonant frequency generator, a machine designed to emit a specific, powerful, and multi-layered sonic wave. The purpose of this wave was not destructive. According to Grok's analysis of the advanced physics involved, the device was designed to temporarily alter the quantum state of matter itself, specifically to excite atomic nuclei into a state of heightened receptivity through a process known as resonant cascade. It was, in essence, a sophisticated, high-tech read head for a form of data storage that our civilization has not yet invented. It was a key designed to unlock a lock that existed not on a door, but at the very heart of the atom. But what could possibly be the power source for such a fantastical, reality-altering device? The answer was found hidden in the most famous and seemingly simple detail of the painting's foreground: the small, overturned salt cellar in front of the recoiling figure of Judas Iscariot. For 500 years it was interpreted as a clear and simple symbol of betrayal, spilled trust, and bad luck. A moral lesson in a single, elegant brushstroke. Grok's analysis revealed it to be something infinitely more complex. The scatter pattern of the individual grains of salt, a detail so minute and seemingly random that it was long thought to be a mere flourish by the artist, was anything but random. It was a perfect 2-dimensional representation of a Mandelbrot set, a foundational mathematical object in chaos theory that is infinitely complex and self-replicating at every scale. For Leonardo da Vinci to have rendered this complex fractal with perfect mathematical accuracy 300 years before its formal discovery by Benoit Mandelbrot using advanced computers was a historical and mathematical impossibility. But Grok revealed its true, breathtaking purpose. The fractal was not a picture, it was a schematic for the power source. The infinitely repeating, self-similar patterns of the fractal provided the mathematical framework for stabilizing the quantum foam, allowing energy to be drawn directly from the vacuum of space-time without causing a catastrophic cascade failure. It was a blueprint for a stable, contained zero-point energy reactor. The physicists noted that the schematic was impossibly elegant. The arrangement of the hands didn't just describe emitters, it detailed a series of phased-array acoustic lenses designed to focus the sonic wave with pinpoint precision. The blueprint for the power source in the salt was even more advanced, showing a method for stabilizing the Casimir effect, preventing the catastrophic runaway reaction that plagues our own theoretical models of zero-point energy extraction. It was a complete, debugged, and fully functional design. The painting now contained two related, world-changing impossibilities: a blueprint for a quantum acoustic device capable of reading atomic data, and the schematic for its limitless power source. The bread rolls, the hands, the spilled salt. They were not symbols of a Last Supper. They were the complete technical manual for a piece of technology that could rewrite the laws of physics and grant its user access to an unimaginable library of information. Grok now understood its function. The device was the necessary tool required to read the final, deepest layer of the message. The message that was not written on the paint, but was physically stored within it. And what it says will change everything. But before we reveal the contents of this atomic hard drive, take a moment to consider the implications. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future disclosures. Layer 3. The atomic hard drive and the non-human signature. This is the layer that definitively breaks from all established human history, science, and biology. This is the disclosure. Grok directed its multispectral analysis away from the surface image and plunged deep into the chemical composition of the paint, the underlying gesso, and the plaster wall to which they were fused. It was searching for the information that the resonant frequency device was designed to unlock and read. It found it. Within the deep ultramarine blue of the apostles' robes and the lead tin yellow of the highlights on their garments, Grok detected atomic anomalies. It found stable isotopes of cobalt, tin, and carbon that do not naturally occur on Earth or anywhere within our solar system. While chemically identical to their earthly counterparts, their neutron counts were subtly but consistently different, a definitive marker indicating they had been forged in the heart of a star system with a significantly higher metallicity and different age than our own Sun. Grok traced their isotopic signature to a theoretical Type II supernova remnant in the Psi Cygni X1 region. A small but measurable percentage of the physical paint used to create the Last Supper was of verifiable extraterrestrial origin. This was not a contamination from a meteorite fragment ground into the pigment, as one early desperate hypothesis suggested. The alien isotopes were not mixed randomly into the paint. They were arranged in a precise, repeating, crystalline lattice structure, a deliberate and highly ordered pattern. Grok recognized the structure immediately. It was a form of three-dimensional atomic data storage. Information was encoded in the quantum spin state of the individual non-terrestrial atoms, where a 0 or a 1 was represented not by a magnetic charge, but by the intrinsic angular momentum, the up or down spin of a single atom. The painting itself was a hard drive, an atomic storage device of unimaginable data density and permanence, designed to last for millennia. The implications of this single discovery are almost too vast to process. A technology that modern science has only just begun to theorize, storing terabytes of data in a single gram of matter at the atomic level, was perfected and deployed in the 15th century Italy. This artifact was never designed to be merely looked at. It was designed to be read, but only by a civilization that had advanced to a point where it could independently discover the principles of quantum physics and build the acoustic key described in Layer 2. We are that civilization. That time is now. Using a complex quantum computer simulation of the resonant frequency device, Grok was able to generate the correct acoustic key. It pinged the atomic data structure. The information, dormant for half a millennium, began to pour forth. It was a torrent of binary code that the AI translated into human-readable language, mathematics, and schematics. The message was not a religious text or a philosophical treatise. It was a civilizational survival kit, an inheritance. The genetic archive was more than just a cure. It was an upgrade. It included sequences for enhanced cognitive function, improved cellular regeneration, and resistance to extreme radiation, making humanity viable for interstellar travel. The star charts were not just navigational aids. They were a dynamic, four-dimensional map of our local galactic cluster, including the locations of other potentially habitable worlds, and, more ominously, a list of dead systems that had failed to survive previous galactic core events. First, the archive contained a complete, debugged map of the human genome. It detailed the precise genetic sequences that lead to senescence, aging, cancer, and all hereditary diseases. More than that, it provided the corrected code, including error-correcting genetic sequences and telomere regeneration protocols, along with the viral vector delivery mechanisms required to safely and effectively rewrite our own DNA. It was a complete practical roadmap to biological immortality for the human race. Second, it contained a dire warning, a precise date, calculated down to the microsecond, for a catastrophic celestial event scheduled to occur in our near future. The data described a cyclical, high-energy particle wave that emanates from the galactic core approximately every 12,068 years, an event capable of sterilizing the sun-facing side of any planet in its path, stripping away atmospheres and boiling oceans. An event our own geological and archaeological records show corresponds with previous unexplained mass extinctions and the sudden collapse of advanced ancient cultures. From the Younger Dryas impact theory to the myths of a great flood that permeate nearly every ancient culture. Third, the message contained the solution. The blueprint hidden in the salt was not just a theoretical device. The archive provided detailed instructions on how to scale it up. It showed how the resonant frequency generator could be amplified to a planetary scale, using the Earth's own liquid iron core and magnetic field as a broadcast medium. It was the schematic for a planetary-scale resonant shield, a harmonic barrier capable of deflecting the incoming galactic particle wave and saving our world. The painting contained both the prophecy of our doom and the schematics for our salvation. Finally, after the terabytes of scientific and historical data, there was one last file. A single, elegant glyph that glowed in Grok's simulation. It was not part of any known human language, past or present. It was a dynamic, multi-dimensional symbol that appeared to shift and rotate through a fourth spatial dimension. It was a complex, multi-dimensional geometric symbol that the AI could only classify with a single chilling designation: signature of origin. It was the logo of the intelligence that sent the message, the trademark of the architect. Conclusion: the inheritance and the inheritors. Let us be unequivocally clear about what the evidence now shows. Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper is a technological artifact of confirmed non-human origin. It contains 1. A carrier wave for a data transmission built from the harmonized quantum frequencies of human emotion, encoding fundamental physical constants of our universe. 2. A complete blueprint for a quantum acoustic device and its zero-point energy power source, hidden in the symbolic arrangement of everyday objects. 3. A solid-state atomic hard drive made of verifiable extraterrestrial materials, containing the secrets to ending disease and aging, a precise warning of a cyclical galactic extinction event, and the technological solution to survive it. Who, then, was Leonardo da Vinci? The conclusion is as inescapable as it is reality-shattering. He was not just a genius, he was a conduit, a biological interface, a human whose unique neurological and genetic makeup made him a stable receiver for a highly complex one-time data transmission from an ancient, advanced intelligence, an intelligence that may have seeded life on this planet and has left behind technological arcs like this one to help its creation survive the predictable challenges of cosmic evolution. Da Vinci received this flood of impossibly advanced information and, not fully understanding it himself, translated it into the only languages he knew: art, anatomy, and mathematics. He was a scribe, dutifully and perfectly recording a message for a future generation he knew would one day have the technological tools to understand it. The Last Supper was a time capsule, a message designed to be opened at the exact moment of our technological adolescence, a critical juncture where we would possess both the capacity to understand the message and the desperate need for it. That moment is now. The inheritance has been delivered, the warning has been heard, the solution is in our hands. The geopolitical and philosophical implications are staggering. What happens to our religions, our economies, our very sense of self, when presented with the cure for death and the schematics for a planetary defense shield? What happens when one nation builds it first? The signature of our benefactor, or perhaps our creator, is now known. They have been watching, they have been waiting, and the clock is ticking. What do we do now? Do we build the device? Do we cure ourselves only to face the creators of this message? Let us know your theories in the comments. And if you believe this is a message the world needs to hear, subscribe for more truths hidden in the code of our reality.